I'm opening up the window to be like, well, now's not a good time. Like, well, I'll be like, yeah. So, I'm wondering, and just go right into the questions. You started to dig, but then you moved away from was motivation and asking more questions around the siblings. Once you got like some kind of vagueness, you were like, oh, okay. And then you moved on to like time and other things. That's really the key here, isn't it? Yeah, the key is what's going on with the siblings. So just hanging out there more, digging more around the motivation. But like by digging, asking questions, I know. So, I mean, it's clear you've been practicing, taking the craft seriously, which is good. You seem to be pretty calm while you're asking questions, which is good. Previously, it was more like there's more tension. So some of the things I noticed. So the first is at the beginning where you're like, yeah, just got a couple quick questions just to make sure that I'm fully prepared and I can provide you with the most accurate information and be the best assistance to you. I'll be brief because I know your time is valuable. And then you ask me, is that okay? It's like, just go into it. I'm opening up the window to be like, well, now's not a good time. Like, well, I'll be like, yeah. So, I'm wondering, and just go right into the questions, right? And then the thing that I saw you started to dig, but then you moved away from was motivation and asking more questions around the siblings. So like started to do it. Once you got like some kind of vagueness, you were like, oh, okay. And then you moved on to like time and other things. Right. And then you tried to circle back to it at the end where you were like with the, hey, they got a loan or whatever. So that's really the key here, isn't it? Yeah, the key is what's going on with the siblings. So you can ask questions like, I'm curious, it's not uncommon that siblings perhaps have a desire to hold on to a home. It's another thing to actually have the financial means to do so. So my intention in asking isn't to be nosy. It's just to see if I could give you any more information that could be helpful or useful in some way. Do you feel like your siblings actually have the financial means and ability to purchase the property? Or is it more so they just have a desire?
It's a great question to ask.
I know. And then like, hey, I'm wondering because here, well, I'm curious, like if they did decide to keep the property, would their intention to be to stay in it and have it be a primary residence, or have they given you, any other information as far as if their intention was to rent it or something of that nature and then be quiet? I'm wondering because we have had it where siblings end up purchasing, from the family. I guess I'm curious, would your intention be to sell it to them at like kind of the family discount, or would the goal and objective be to make sure that they pay top dollar for it?
Another great question.
I know. We're like, well, yeah, my brother, he thinks we're going to sell it to him for nothing, but like, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay. So then I'm curious, being that there's that disagreement, like even if he does come up with the funds, how do you see that working out? So just hanging out there more, digging more around the motivation of the siblings and the probability that they'll be able to execute. Because sometimes they can. Like I've had many where they'll tell me, they're like, yeah, my brother can buy it and he wants to keep it as a secondary home. Okay. So it sounds like that's his desire, and it sounds like he's pretty adamant about that. And being that he has the means and the ability, what do you think would cause him not to actually proceed and purchase it? I don't think he's not going to proceed. I mean, I think he's going to buy it. Okay. So then it seems as though what could be helpful or useful is perhaps to get just like this realistic picture of value, so that way you can see if in fact, he does proceed with purchasing, what would be top dollar. So that way when you guys are having conversations, you both feel good about what you're doing and what you end up selling it for. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And then on the outside chance, if for whatever reason he doesn't proceed, then perhaps, you may be interested in having an agent help. Is that correct? Yeah, that's right. You see, but like by digging, asking questions, I know. Like in this situation, you're going to go out there and have a conversation, and you're walking into it where like the siblings you have no interaction with them, no rapport with them, no nothing. And you're going to walk there and have no idea what you're walking into, where you're basically going to give information. You feel good about the fact that you had an appointment, but is it an appointment?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I didn't ask enough questions because if they owe 50 grand, he doesn't really care about getting his money out. And, I didn't find out really what the other siblings want to do. I'm kind of like on an island still a little bit.
Yeah. So
that's why I stopped it.
Then I noticed too, like where you were like, yeah, you circled back, which was good. You were like, yeah, I oftentimes find when we're having these conversations, particularly being that you and your siblings are, another good question to ask is like, hey, because I don't know this, I'm assuming this, what I was about to say is like, yeah, my intention asking is to be nosy again, just to see if I could give you any more information that could be helpful or useful in some way. Are you and your siblings on kind of like, do you guys have a good relationship with each other? Is it amicable, or has it, gotten to a place where there's friction?
That's a good question. Yeah. It opens up, like you weren't really talking that much. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of understand the situation better.
Yeah. I was just giving you like quick I was doing that purposefully to see if you like dig, you know what I'm saying? I'm giving you like
Right.
vagueness, but I want to continue to ask questions so I can have more clarity around it. And then when you were like, yeah, and you did circle back, which is good. I oftentimes find, because we help a lot of family members in these situations where they're trying to make decisions, that it can be very, very helpful and useful for everybody to be on the same page in terms of information, versus having to play the game of telephone where like we meet and then you have to relay the information to them. I'm wondering, do you think it would be helpful or useful if we all hopped on a quick Zoom call where we can see each other and I can share this information that we'll be going over with everyone, so that way you guys will have everything you need and you can make decisions that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed? And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. Okay. And then you gave me like 5 times or 3 times. You're like, yeah, we can meet tonight or Friday or on the weekend. Now, when you're buying a sandwich at Subway and somebody says to you, yeah, you want mustard? And you're like, yeah. And you're like, well, okay, what kind of mustard do you want? Yeah, what kind you got? And they're like, well, we have 10 types of mustard. What happens in your brain?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. And I'm like, dude, just the yellow one. And you know what? I don't even want mustard anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's too many decisions. So instead, what I would do in that situation, okay, great. So I'm imagining that if we were to all connect under normal conditions, you guys would probably be available like in the early evenings. Does that sound about right? They're like, yeah, okay. And you that'd be like at 6 or a little bit later at 7. Probably at 7. All right. So how about we do this? We'll move the time. We'll keep the day. We'll move the time to 6 or 7. And in preparation, if my daughter was on the call, you know what she would say? 6, 7. No. So we'll keep the day. We'll move it to 6 p.m. And then I'm going to send you some information via email if you'd be kind enough to forward that to your siblings. And then, we'll all get together. We'll go over the information and then we'll take it from there. How does that sound?
Right.
You did ask a good question around time. You're like, timing wise, like ideally in terms of what you want, if you did move in the direction of selling, when were you thinking like of actually putting on the market for sale? When I asked you like, why is this important? It's because you didn't tell me ahead of time. So, the reason that I'm asking is not, again, to be nosy. Instead, it's so that way I can provide a clear net sheet for you guys to give you a clear picture of value, net bottom line, what the proceeds would be when it all shakes out. And I'm aware that is an if you guys did decide to proceed with selling. In order to do that properly and professionally, I just need a roundabout, right? Is there any liens, mortgages, encumbrances? And if so, how much? But if you don't tell somebody why you're asking, then oftentimes that's what you'll get back. Like, why is that important? You know what I'm saying? You have to
you got to frame it.
Yeah, you have to let them know what's in it for them.
When it comes to financial things, you'll hear a lot of times it's personal. It's like, Mario, I just asked you in front of everybody, hey, Mario, how much money you got in your bank account? People would start getting weird. Instead, if I rephrase it as to what, here's one thing that I noticed. Very early on, I don't know if you noticed, Aaron said, yeah, there's just a difference of opinions.
He did say that, yeah.
Okay, and what I noticed is that you just kind of like overlooked it. Sometimes whenever somebody says a statement like that, it's good to get clarification on that, because that'll give you more guidance as to how to take the conversation.
That's right.
So there's just a difference of opinions. Okay, Aaron, and if it's not too personal, when you say there's a difference in opinions, can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that? It changes the whole thing right there, because that gives Aaron the opportunity to open up right there. But it's like a lot of times when we're so worried about what to say, instead of having it internalized, we miss little cues like that are I'll give you guys an example. I'm at the listing presentation the other day and she goes, how much commission do you charge? And she asked me, would you do it for X percentage? And I could have just said yes. This is an opening right here. So what I said is, if I agreed to do it for X percentage, would you give me the opportunity to work with you? They look at each other, they go, yes. I look back, pretend like I'm thinking, and I go, you've got a deal. And that right there. But most people, if it's not internalized, they oversee little things like this. Like that was right there, the question that could have opened everything up, basically.
Yeah, because I feel like I didn't get to that question, and it was hard to work with the scraps. So great observation. Yeah.